Hi everybody. So I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently this litter because so many of you are coming on the exact same day to come get your babies on Tuesday after their vet appointment. I just figured that I'll record me explaining everything that comes inside of the folder that you get. So that way I don't have to spend so much time explaining everything to every family, especially if people are coming in groups and things like that. So I'm going to be adding everybody to this video if I've got you on Facebook. And yeah, so things are happening. I think I've got everything under control, but you know, things happen, so we've still got 48 hours. But as it stands right now, I'm pretty sure everything's in here. So I just have a folder. This is for orange. And so on the right-hand side is going to be all of our documents that I've created. And on the left-hand side is going to be health-related things related to the parents. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see Cooper's health summary from Embark. And all of this just means that they tested him for over 200 different types of issues DNA-wise, and he doesn't have any of them. It also says that he's obviously 100% golden retriever. It's got his cute little picture on there. The profile for Embark has a link to it, so if you wanted to read it in depth, you can type that link into your computer and it will come up probably with a much more detailed explanation of everything that they looked for. And it also has his CKC registration number. And that is the Continental Kennel Club, not Canadian Kennel Club. And it's got his birthday, 12/3/2020. And this is all stapled together, his information. And then the next page is just going over his pen-hip scores. So because we tested him at 1.5 years, he wasn't 2, so we couldn't use the OFA, which is the Orthopedic Foundation for Animals. Instead, we used pen-hip, which scores their hips and their x-rays a little bit differently. So here you can see for the Golden Retriever breed, this would be considered low risk for hip dysplasia. This would be considered mild. This would be considered moderate. And this would be considered high. Now this is probably going to be backwards, but bear with me. Cooper's score is in the low end of moderate. So that was good enough for me. It also has all of the rest of the information on there. And basically, this second page literally has like one sentence on it. But it's the most important. It's the summary. So if you don't want to go through and read all of the data, like numbers part of it, it just says the degree of laxity, which is 0.54, falls within the central 90% range of DIs for the breed. This amount of hip laxity places the hip at a moderate risk to develop OA, which is orthopedic arthritis. No radiographic evidence of OA for either hip. So that means he's good. So that is your baby's dad, Cooper. Koopy, he's doing so good. We miss him a lot. And so this is going to be Daisy's package. Daisy is your baby's mom. So this doesn't have her picture on there. I'm sorry. I guess I printed it out before I went in and like put in their pictures. But it has her birthday, 8/13/2019. She's 100% golden retriever. This has her AKC number because she is AKC registered. This also has her Embark profile link. And it just goes and says the same thing, that they tested for over 200 different genetic issues. These ones that they put on the summary are just the ones that are most common in golden retrievers, which is obviously most important, but they do test for over 200. Because Daisy was over 2 years old, we did go ahead and do the OFA certification for her hips and elbows. So this is the OFA certificate. This says, based upon the radiograph submitted, the consensus was that no evidence of elbow dysplasia was recognized. And the second one is just for the hips. It says, based upon the radiograph submitted, the consensus was that no evidence of hip dysplasia was recognized. The hip joint conformation was evaluated as good. So the OFA rates hips with excellent, good, fair, and then one or two others that are bad. And we would not be breeding anybody that was rated below fair. So she's good, which is better than fair. So it's good. It's a good thing. And because she is AKC, you do get, and my fault for the printer being a little off center, but this is the certified pedigree. It just is missing like the first letter of each word. But this is the AKC certified pedigree for Daisy. So this is Daisy in the middle. Her parents, actually her dad's name was Cooper. How funny. These are her parents, and then it goes on from there. If you wanted to research on the AKC website or something and see them, and if they've accomplished anything with AKC, you have all of their names and their AKC numbers. And this is just Daisy's actual AKC certificate. So that is the health side that is left. Now also on the left, after their vet appointment, there will be their Florida State Health Certificate over there on the left. On the right, the first thing you're going to see is these, is this 7 or 9 pages? Our purchase agreement, which I'll go over briefly here, but I'm also going to go over it briefly in person just because this is most important. Obviously, I want to make sure that you understand everything that you're agreeing to by purchasing one of our puppies. If you haven't read it, it is available online. On our website, there's a link. On our private Facebook group, there's a link. And there should be a link on the public Facebook page, I think. If not, you could ask me at any time to send it to you, and I would send you the PDF. But this is the purchase agreement. So this goes over right here who this contract is pertaining to, which is me, the breeder, and you, the buyer. This is your puppy's information, knowing that this is exactly your puppy. I'm going to microchip them today too. I swear I'm doing it. So their microchip number will be there. So you'll know guaranteed that this puppy is your puppy. And then I didn't fill in all of this information because right now, this time, some people sent me different amounts for the deposit that was more than $200. So in person, I'm going to fill out exactly what this is. But it says your deposit, a non-refundable deposit of blank, has been previously received by the breeder. The deposit has been applied to the final purchase price defined below. For more information on the deposit, please see the deposit agreement previously signed, which you should have that. Purchase price. The full purchase price of blank is agreed upon price for the puppy info stated above. These funds will be paid in full to the breeder no later than the day of pickup via cash only. Now, I will accept Zelle, but I'm no longer going to be accepting any other types of electronic apps or checks. Number 3, breeding. If the buyer plans on breeding the puppy or dog, certain requirements must be met. And we should have been talked about this already if you were wanting to breed. So majority of you this will not pertain to, but it is important to go over just in case you change your mind in the future, which obviously you can. If female, she has reached her second heat. If male, he is at least 1 year old. B, the puppy or dog has had genetic health testing, like from Embark, performed and has been cleared of any genetic conditions associated with the Golden Retriever breed. C, the puppy or dog has received OFA or pen hip clearances in hips, elbows, eyes, and heart. Now, I haven't been able to get around to eyes and heart yet, but I expect better from you. So you're going to do eyes and heart. D, the buyer has signed the breeder's breeding agreement, which is a completely separate agreement on top of the purchase agreement. So, like I said, you probably don't know what that is. Which this document states that the buyer will only breed the puppy or dog listed above with purebred golden retrievers that have also received clear genetic health tests and have also received clearances from OFA or pen hip in hips, elbows, eyes, and heart. I don't care if they're AKC. I don't care if they're CKC. It doesn't matter to me. That part is irrelevant. We're talking about health. We want the health to be pristine. If dogs are going to be bred with my genetics, I want to make sure that moving forward, they continue to be healthy, happy golden retrievers. F, the breeder has signed the breeding agreement. Separate from this agreement, this represents the breeder's blessing to the buyer to breed the puppy or dog listed above. And obviously, if you ever wanted to do that, I'm such an open book, and I have so much knowledge that I would hope that you guys would ask me any sort of questions or anything that you wanted to know about breeding. If it was an option for you, if I thought your dog was a good candidate for it, because not only do you have to think about physical health, but you have to think about mental health and behavior as well. So I would hope that I could be like your mentor, basically. 4, unauthorized breeding. So let's just say you don't want to tell me, but you're planning on it anyway. If not looking to breed, the buyer must provide the breeder with proof of spay or neuter by the time the puppy or dog is 1 year old. The puppy or dog is being sold solely as a companion, and breeding of the puppy or dog is expressly prohibited unless additional breeder agreement has been signed and agreed upon, and all the testing has been passed. If at any time the puppy or dog has produced any offspring without the breeder's signature on the separate breeding agreement, A, the buyer must return the puppy or dog to the breeder immediately. B, if puppy or dog is not returned immediately, the buyer will be charged the current marketplace value of a golden retriever puppy multiplied by the standard litter size, which is 8 puppies. C, all of breeder's warranties set forth in this agreement will become null and void. So basically, I'm going to take your puppy away from you, and you're going to be sued a lot of money. So just don't do it. 5, breeder's obligations. The breeder represents and warrants the following. A, ownership. Breeder is the lawful owner of the puppy or dog and has the right to transfer ownership of the puppy or dog to the buyer. Ownership of the puppy or dog will be transferred to buyer upon buyer's payment of the full purchase price. B, state of health, a short-term health warranty. This coincides hand in hand basically with the Florida puppy lemon law. The puppy or dog was previously examined by a licensed veterinarian and was found to be in good health at the time, and 2, has had the immunizations listed in the health records provided to the buyer. Buyer, at their own expense, must have the puppy or dog examined by a licensed veterinarian within 72 hours. If at the exam their veterinarian finds that the puppy or dog is unhealthy or unfit for sale, the puppy or dog may be returned to the breeder for a full refund of the purchase price. The buyer's veterinarian must provide a written statement deeming the puppy or dog unfit for purchase, which must be sent to the breeder within 48 hours of the veterinary exam. The breeder then has an additional 72 hours to have the puppy seen again by a veterinarian of their choosing. If the breeder's veterinarian disagrees with the buyer's vet findings, the breeder will send this documentation to the buyer, and the breeder is not obligated to return any funds, but will return the puppy or dog to the buyer. If the breeder's vet finds that the illness or issue with the puppy was caused by trauma or neglect from the buyer, The breeder will immediately regain ownership of the puppy or dog and is not obligated to return any funds received from the buyer. The only time the buyer receives a full refund of the purchase price is if both the buyer's veterinarian and the breeder's veterinarian agree that the puppy or dog was not fit for sale. Hopefully that makes sense. The foregoing guarantee expressly excludes, which does not include, any health issues caused by the buyer's ill treatment, abuse, or neglect, any health issues that result from the puppy or dog's transportation from breeder to buyer, and all minor illnesses and health issues, including upper respiratory infections, allergic reactions, stress, colitis, or diarrhea, internal or external parasites or contagious viruses, including canine parvovirus, UTIs, vaginitis, or umbilical hernias. The breeder also does not guarantee that both male puppies' testicles will drop. C. Long-term health warranty. Although the breeder has health tested both parents, this does not give 100% immunity to any health issues the puppy or dog may develop in its lifetime. Because of this, the breeder is unable to guarantee the long-term health of the puppy or dog. Returns refunds. If it is determined by a licensed veterinarian that the puppy or dog was unfit for purchase or has a genetic disorder that is identified within the warranty periods described above, the buyer may keep the puppy or dog and receive reimbursement for any veterinary expenses related to the illness limited to the purchase price, or the buyer can return the puppy or dog to the breeder for full refund of the purchase price. No other warranties. No other warranties or guarantees expressed or implied are made by the breeder, and the puppy or dog is sold and delivered in an as-is condition. Buyer's obligations. Buyer agrees to the following. A. Proper care. Buyer will provide good and proper care of the puppy or dog. Such care includes providing adequate housing and protection from the elements, a safe, preferably fenced exercise area, and proper and sufficient nutrition. Because of the nature of the Golden Retriever's fur, the buyer also promises to keep up with regular grooming either at home or at a salon. Buyer will provide proper veterinary care throughout the puppy or dog's lifetime, including but not limited to routine vaccinations and or titers to maintain the puppy or dog's immunity to common canine diseases. B. Veterinary care. Buyer will also provide the following veterinary care. 1. Routine vaccinations and or titers to prevent common infectious diseases. 2. Routine treatment for internal and external parasites. And 3. Annual examination by a licensed veterinarian. C. Restriction of transfer. If at any time the buyer is unable to keep or care for the puppy or dog, including upon buyer's death or incapacity, the puppy shall be returned to the breeder together with any current veterinary documentation, as well as official documents transferring buyer's ownership of the puppy or dog back to the breeder. And obviously we would go over that if that ever happened, which hopefully it doesn't. D. Spay-neuter provision. The right to ownership of the puppy or dog is conditioned upon buyer paying all costs and expenses to spay or neuter the puppy or dog no later than the age of 1 year old, and providing proof of such spaying or neutering to the breeder immediately upon completion. No exceptions unless the breeding agreement has been signed separately. If breeder does not receive this documentation by the first year mark from the puppy or dog's date of birth, the buyer will be subject to and hereby agrees to pay as a penalty the sum of the total purchase price of the puppy or dog listed above. So don't do it. Just get them fixed. 7. Ongoing communication. Both parties agree to promptly notify the other of any change of address, email, or phone number. Buyer agrees to A. Maintain contact with breeder regarding the puppy or dog at least once each calendar year and to reply as promptly as possible to inquiries about the puppy or dog from the breeder. B. Inform breeder of any titles completed by the puppy or dog as determined by the American Kennel Club or other registry or registries. And C, inform the breeder of any major change in the health of the puppy or dog throughout the puppy or dog's life, including but not limited to hip or elbow dysplasia, cancer, epilepsy, heart, eye, or hearing conditions, allergies, bleeding disorders, or autoimmune disease, and behavior problems, particularly fear, anxiety, or aggression. Because obviously, if your puppy develops these things, I want to figure out why and if I can prevent that from happening again. Buyer will, upon the natural or accidental death of the puppy or dog, promptly notify the breeder of the particulars of the animal's death. 8. Remedy for mistreatment. If the breeder feels the puppy or dog is not getting proper care and treatment, breeder has the right to request to have the puppy or dog examined by a licensed veterinarian. If the veterinarian finds the puppy or dog to be a victim of ill treatment, abuse, or neglect, A, breeder has the right to take full possession of the puppy or dog, and B, all breeder warranties herein shall become null and void. For the avoidance of doubt, if breeder takes possession of the puppy or dog in accordance with this section, buyer shall not be entitled to any refunds of any payments made to the breeder. That definitely won't happen because you guys are the best. Agreement to mediate, and this is just a lawyer thing. If a dispute arises out of or relates to this agreement or the alleged breach thereof, and if the dispute is not settled through negotiation, the parties agree to first try in good faith to settle the dispute by mediation before restoring to arbitration, litigation, or some other dispute resolution procedure. I should have got some water. The process shall be confidential based on terms acceptable to the mediator and or mediation service provider. Don't worry, last page. Did I say that I was going to go over this briefly? 10. Governing law. This agreement and all matters arising out of or relating to this agreement shall be governed by and construed in accordance with the laws of the state of Florida without regard to the conflicts of laws provisions thereof. It's a lawyer thing. 11. Miscellaneous. This agreement constitutes the entire agreement between the parties regarding the subject matter herein and supersedes all prior or contemporaneous agreements, negotiations, discussions, and understandings, written or oral, between the parties with respect to such a subject matter. Neither party may assign, transfer, or subcontract any obligations or rights under this agreement without the prior written consent of the other party. No changes, modifications, or waivers to this agreement will be effective unless in writing and signed by both parties. In the event that any provision of this agreement is determined to be illegal or unenforceable, that provision will be limited or eliminated to the minimum extent necessary, so that this agreement shall otherwise remain in full force and effect and enforceable. This agreement may be executed in any number of counterparts, and such counterparts together shall constitute the same instrument. Buyer and breeder have executed this agreement, effective as of the effective date. And then you sign. Woo! That's a lot. And that's why, I'll probably just keep this video. I'll share it with everybody because that's a mouthful. And once our puppies start becoming AKC, that's a whole other thing. And you will get, on the right-hand side of your folder, the puppy food and feeding schedule. So if you haven't gotten your puppy food, you got 48 hours. Go to Tractor Supply. You can find a Tractor Supply, or you can just order it online like any other website, and they'll deliver it right to your house. It's super affordable, so just get it. They already had to switch one time, and I'm just telling you, just save yourself. Just get it delivered to the house and feed it to them for a while. So it's called Retriever Puppy Blend, and it's the chicken, and it's just dry dog food. And I'll read this to you too. It's just 2 pages. This is your puppy's food. This is the food they have been weaned onto from 3 weeks old. This is the food that we recommend you keep your new puppy on until they are 1 year old. We have chosen this puppy food because it is high quality, affordable, and most importantly, it contains grains. In the last few years, the FDA linked grain-free dog foods with increased heart issues. Because golden retrievers are more susceptible to heart issues, I highly suggest staying away from any grain-free foods unless directly prescribed by your veterinarian due to a legitimate grain allergy. So even if you do decide to switch from this puppy food at some point, I do suggest making sure to switch slowly and gradually to another grain-inclusive diet. When switching food, you want to add a small amount of the new food and continue to slowly add that new food and phase out the old food. I highly suggest adding canned pumpkin while transitioning as it has extra fiber in it to minimize any loose poop or digestive upset. From 8 weeks to 6 months old, I recommend feeding your puppy 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. I suggest getting an extra large dog food bowl that is stainless steel and fill it up to the brim and let your puppy eat as much as they want. They are still growing and you do not want to restrict their nutrition this early. At 6 months, you can switch to twice a day, morning and evening, and start measuring the amount if needed. So if your vet says they're overweight, you can taper it off from there. But I mean, at 6 months, they shouldn't really be overweight still. But you want to just monitor it because golden retrievers, they do have a tendency to gain weight as they age, and that's obviously not good for their hips and stuff. So you want to avoid that. Personally, I feed dinner early, around 3 p.m. to make sure all of the poop has exited prior to bedtime. I know not everyone can do this, as they may still be at work, but just remember, the later that you feed your puppy, the later they will need to poop. And that's just a part of puppy and potty training. I kind of go into it a little bit. I also suggest picking up water after dinner time to lessen the likelihood of pee accidents at night. You will still need to take your puppy out every 2 hours in the middle of the night, but they will not feel the urge to go that badly if their bladder is mostly empty. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to that. I'm just saying in general, if they go for a walk, if they play, if they're panting, you can give them a little bit of water. I just wouldn't necessarily let them drink a gallon of water right before bed. That's basically what I'm saying. Of course, if you have any questions ever in your whole life about your puppy's food or feeding, water, or potty schedule, you can always reach out to me. I want you and your baby to succeed. And this says sincerely, Jerry Marie. Last, but certainly not least, is my medical record that I have created for when they are with me. So this is what it looks like. Okay. It's going to have your name on it, your address. If your dog's a boy or a girl, it's going to have their microchip sticker, their date of birth, the food they're on again. So it's repetitive. It's called Retriever Puppy Chicken. I put on there. Vaccinations I put on here in case you want to have everything streamlined on one document, at least for now. Now, when they get their first puppy shot at the vet, I'm going to fill this in at the last minute with the date. And then anytime that you bring them back, you're supposed to bring them back 3 weeks from then. You yourself, or you can have your vet if you wanted to, add in the second column, the third column. That way, if anything, in a case of an emergency, all the basic information is all on one piece of paper. Instead of, okay, well, here's the one from when they were 8 weeks old, and then where's the other one from they were 16 and da-da-da-da. And it's like, everything's right here. Same thing with the deworming. Now, obviously, I do deworming here, like, religiously all the time. So these are all the dates I used technically 3 different dewormers, but I don't have toltrazurol on here. I just have pyrantel and fenbendazole, science stuff. And then here is where they were born, how much they weighed. I weighed them the next day. That's how much they weighed. And then all of the deworming stuff that I've done and their weights if I weighed them. Now, sometimes I can eyeball it and I just err on the side of caution and do more because dewormer isn't going to hurt them. So towards the end this time, because it was the holidays and everything, I just rounded everything up and I'm just like, okay, everybody's getting the same puppy food purchase agreement. So this is only 30 minutes long, no big deal, but that's 30 minutes that you don't have to stand in my living room with my kids running around. Now you can just look at it on here. So, like I said, I'm going to tag everybody in here. If you don't get a chance to look at it these next couple days, I will tell you about it in person and I'll be like, hey, you want to stand here for 30 minutes or do you want to go home and watch the video at some point? Or you can look at it and if you have questions, you can call me. But yes, I'm going to do microchips now. I dewormed them already. We did bath time. And I have like everything else to do now. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out. This is your puppy folder. I can't believe it's already been 2 months. The little babies. But yeah, I hope this makes things a little bit easier and streamlined for everybody. So I can't wait for you guys to get your babies soon. Bye.